Hey, girlfriend. So my client came in today to get a trim of her ends. So we're about to take out the unneeded dead ends all throughout her hair. And I'm just going to show you how I like to do it versus how you're doing it. So you may learn something when you watch this video, girlfriend. You want to make sure your client's hair is clean and blow dried out. So I'm going to take off about not even a full inch, quite about a half an inch because she is just getting a trim. And once you see the close-up, this is where I'm going to create my guide for my trim. Tell your client to make sure they relax their shoulders, but also their neck. You want them facing straight towards the mirror if they're facing the mirror. What you're going to do is get your barbering comb, place it at a 0-degree angle, which is straight down. Look at the area that needs to be trimmed. And you're going to cut right on the area that needs to be trimmed. So before I trim anything, I like to hand my clients the mirror to know exactly what needs to be trimmed so we can agree, or she can come back and be like, Julie, so you know what? Can we take a little less off? You never want to go straight in trimming your client hair without asking them and showing them. That makes sure that your client feels comfortable with you doing the trim, but it also makes sure that you have some type of relationship with your client. Because I'm not gonna lie to y'all, people are afraid of shears. They have had some bad experiences, honey, and you don't want to be one of those bad experiences. So as you see, I'm holding my hand at a 0-degree. I created my guide, which I can see it. The hair below that guide is going to be trimmed. The key thing is when you're trimming your client's hair to make sure that you can visibly see your guide throughout the trim. All I'm doing is following the guide, not going above it and not going below it. Now that we created our guide, y'all, in the back section, I'm just going to take another small section from the area that's been clipped away and make sure that you're not slicing that hair too thick. The key thing, y'all, you want to visibly see this guide throughout this cut. Now we're going to start trimming our hair at a 45-degree. So now we know that we went from our 0-degree. We're going to walk it up to a 45. I'm going to grab my guide from the nape area. Again, making sure I can see the guide directly in my hand, holding it at my 45, cutting it at an angle. And there you have it. You slowly walk this subsection up. Again, making sure we have our guide directly in the hand. Clipping off the excess hair. And you should have some type of elevation to the trim of the ends, meaning the trim should have some type of curvature. And all I'm doing is rotating my guide from each subsection that I am parting. My guide is directly in my hand, making sure my guide is visible. Anything above my guide, I know it needs to be trimmed. So now we gotta follow the guide up to her frontal section. This is one of my favorite parts because we created guide throughout her hair, y'all, just from the nape area. So now I created my guide on the opposite side of her head. And all I'm going to do is follow the guide to the curvature of her head. And what I mean by that, we know that this section of her head does not directly come straight down. It comes forward at an angle. So I'm going to hold that hair directly at an angle, making sure I can visibly see my guide and trim off those dead ends. And there you have it, how to trim your client's natural, beautiful hair, honey. It's not that hard. You just got to follow the guide, create the guide, and be confident while you're doing it. Catch your girl in your next video. Bye, babes.